The National Health and Family Planning Commission, together with its counterparts in the local commissions, oversees the health needs of the Chinese population. An emphasis on public health and preventive medicine has characterized Chinese health policy since the early 1950s. At that time, the Communist Party started the Patriotic Health Campaign, which was aimed at improving sanitation and hygiene, as well as treating and preventing several diseases. Diseases such as cholera, typhoid and scarlet fever, which were previously rife in China, were nearly eradicated by the campaign. After Deng Xiaoping began instituting economic reforms in 1978, the health of the Chinese public improved rapidly because of better nutrition, although many of the free public health services provided in the countryside disappeared along with the people's communes. Healthcare in China became mostly privatized and experienced a significant rise in quality. In 2009, the government began a 3-year large-scale healthcare provision initiative worth US $124 billion. By 2011, the campaign resulted in 95% of China's population having basic health insurance coverage. In 2011, China was estimated to be the world's third largest supplier of pharmaceuticals, but its population has suffered from the development and distribution of counterfeit medications. As of 2017, the average life expectancy at birth in China is 76 years, and the infant mortality rate is 7 per 1,000. Both have improved significantly since the 1950s. Rates of stunting, a condition caused by malnutrition, have declined from 33.1% in 1990 to 9.9% in 2010. Despite significant improvements in health and the construction of advanced medical facilities, China has several emerging public health problems, such as respiratory illnesses caused by widespread air pollution, hundreds of millions of cigarette smokers, and an increase in obesity among urban youths. China's large population and densely populated cities have led to serious disease outbreaks in recent years, such as the 2003 outbreak of SARS. Although this has since been largely contained in 2010, air pollution caused 1.2 million premature deaths in China. The COVID-19 pandemic was first identified in Wuhan in December 2019. Further studies are being carried out around the world on a possible origin for the virus. The Chinese government has been criticized for its handling of the epidemic and accused of concealing the extent of the outbreak before it became an international pandemic. Religion in China. Geographic distribution of religions in China. Chinese folk religion, including Confucianism, Taoism, and groups of Chinese Buddhism, Tao, Court Islam, ethnic minorities, indigenous religions, Mongolian folk religion, Northeast China folk religion influenced by Tungus and Manchu shamanism, widespread Shanrendeo. The government of the People's Republic of China officially espouses state atheism and has conducted anti-religious campaigns to this end. Religious affairs and issues in the country are overseen by the State Administration for Religious Affairs. Freedom of religion is guaranteed by China's constitution, although religious organizations that lack official approval can be subject to state persecution. Over the millennia, Chinese civilization has been influenced by various religious movements. The three teachings, including Confucianism, Taoism, and Buddhism, Chinese Buddhism, historically have a significant role in shaping Chinese culture, enriching a theological and spiritual framework which harks back to the early Shang and Zhou dynasty. Chinese popular or folk religion, which is framed by the three teachings and other traditions, consists in allegiance to the Shen, a character that signifies the energies of generation, who can be deities of the environment or ancestral principles of human groups, concepts of civility, culture heroes, many of whom feature in Chinese mythology and history. Among the most popular cults are those of Mazu, goddess of the seas, Yuandi, one of the two divine patriarchs of the Chinese race, Guandi, god of war and business, Caitian, god of prosperity and richness, Tangyu, and many others. China is home to many of the world's tallest religious statues, including the tallest of all, the Spring Temple Buddha in Henan. Clear data on religious affiliation in China is difficult to gather due to varying definitions of religion and the unorganized, diffusive nature of Chinese religious traditions. Scholars note that in China there is no clear boundary between free teachings religions and local folk religious practice. A 2015 poll, conducted by Gallup International, found that 61% of Chinese people self-identified as convinced atheist, though it is worthwhile to note that Chinese religions or some of their strands are definable as non-theistic and humanistic religions, since they do not believe that divine creativity is completely transcendent, but it is inherent in the world and in particular in the human being. According to a 2014 study, approximately 74% are either non-religious or practice Chinese folk belief, 16% are Buddhists, 2% are Christians, 1% are Muslims, and 8% adhere to other religions including Taoists and folk salvationism. In addition to Han people's local religious practices, there are also various ethnic minority groups in China who maintain their traditional autochthon religions. The various folk religions today comprise 2–3% of the population, while Confucianism as a religious self-identification is common within the intellectual class. Significant faiths specifically connected to certain ethnic groups include Tibetan Buddhism and the Islamic religion of the Uyghur, Kazakh, Kyrgyz and other peoples in northwest China. Citation needed. The 2010 population census reported the total number of Muslims in the country as 23.14 million. A 2021 poll from Ipsos and the Policy Institute at King's College London found that 35% of Chinese people said there was tension between different religious groups, which was the second lowest percentage of the 28 countries surveyed. Culture. Chinese culture and culture of the People's Republic of China. The Temple of Heaven, a center of heaven worship and an UNESCO World Heritage Site, symbolizes the interactions between heaven and mankind. Fengyuan County, an ancient town that harbors many architectural remains of Ming and Qing styles. Since ancient times, Chinese culture has been heavily influenced by Confucianism. For much of the country's dynastic era, opportunities for social advancement could be provided by high performance in the prestigious imperial examinations, which have their origins in the Han Dynasty. The literary emphasis of the exams affected the general perception of cultural refinement in China, such as the belief that calligraphy, poetry and painting were higher forms of art than dancing or drama. Chinese culture has long emphasized a sense of deep history and a largely inward-looking national perspective. Examinations and a culture of merit remain greatly valued in China today. A moon gate in a Chinese garden. The first leaders of the People's Republic of China were born into the traditional imperial order but were influenced by the May 4th movement and reformist ideals. They sought to change some traditional aspects of Chinese culture, such as rural land tenure, sexism, and the Confucian system of education, while preserving others, such as the family structure and culture of obedience to the state. Some observers see the period following the establishment of the PRC in 1949 as a continuation of traditional Chinese dynastic history, while others claim that the Communist Party's rule has damaged the foundations of Chinese culture, especially through political movements such as the Cultural Revolution of the 1960s, where many aspects of traditional culture were destroyed, having been denounced as regressive and harmful, or vestiges of feudalism. Many important aspects of traditional Chinese morals and culture, such as Confucianism, art, literature, and performing arts like Peking opera, were altered to conform to government policies and propaganda at the time. Access to foreign media remains heavily restricted. Today, the Chinese government has accepted numerous elements of traditional Chinese culture as being integral to Chinese society. With the rise of Chinese nationalism and the end of the Cultural Revolution, various forms of traditional Chinese art, literature, music, film, fashion and architecture have seen a vigorous revival, and folk and variety art in particular have sparked interest nationally and even worldwide. A poll in October 2020 of respondents in Spain, Slovakia, Latvia, Serbia, and Russia found that majorities in those countries considered China to be culturally attractive. Tourism in China. Tourism in China on list of World Heritage Sites in China. China received 55.7 million inbound international visitors in 2010 and in 2012 was the third most visited country in the world. It also experiences an enormous volume of domestic tourism. An estimated 740 million Chinese holidaymakers traveled within the country in October 2012. China hosts the world's second largest number of World Heritage Sites, 56, after Italy, and is one of the most popular tourist destinations in the world, first in the Asia-Pacific. It is forecast by Euromonitor International that China will become the world's most popular destination for tourists by 2030.